Welcome to the launch of success on LinkedIn. How frustrating is it when we spend tons and tons of time on LinkedIn putting together content, commenting, but we don't get clients? So, today, our guest is going to be helping us with that. He is the master of Sales Navigator. And so, we're going to ask you to please let us know where you're tuning in from. My name is Ann Small. I am a LinkedIn strategist. Today, we have a community manager that I'll be introducing to you shortly, Max McKinley, and we just want to welcome you. So, welcome from wherever you are, and we'll be playing the chat in just a moment. Our special guest today is not only the master of Sales Navigator, he is also a Sales Navigator team coach and the founder of LinkedIn to Sales. And with no further ado, let me introduce to you Philip Horn.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you for inviting me on the show. Delighted to be here all the way over the pond in the UK. So thank you very much.
Glad that you were able to join us. What time is it there?
It's 5:30, so just at the end of the working day.
I am trying to bring up the chat overlay over here for everybody so we can see what's going on as people start talking to us, because we want to encourage conversation and make sure also that I'm in the camera. So the chat overlay makes it kind of hard. Good morning, everyone. Hello, David Cause. Welcome, Nadia, Jennifer. Jennifer's joining us from New York. And let's see. Welcome, Philip. Okay, so real quick, let us just, Max, I'll bring you on the end, but Max McKinley is my partner at Only by Grace LinkedIn Strategies. And he is going to be watching the comments today. So please make sure to put your questions in the comments, and we will try to get to all of them while we're live. If we don't, we'll be taking a look afterwards and going back in, because even if you missed this live, the recording will be up right after the show. And Philip, I can't tell you, one of the biggest struggles that I seriously hear about LinkedIn is definitely that people are not getting in front of potential clients. And I'm interested to hear from you, what made you get into lead generation and Sales Navigator?
Well, my journey into the world of digital marketing actually started when I was at interviews in London to become an investment analyst, because that's what I studied and passed professional exams. I read an article in The Economist and basically had an idea for a .com, and it sort of did that. And unfortunately, it failed. But it gave me the digital bug. I went to sort of some seminars and started learning and started learning SEO to start off with. And then in 2003, launched a sort of digital marketing agency. So I've been doing that, now for 20 years. So, helping people to generate business is something that I've been doing for 20 years, and something I really enjoy, because obviously when your clients win, you win as well. So, it's a win-win situation, which is always the best way.
Yes, definitely. And I want to encourage everyone, not only are we going to be looking for your questions in the comments, because Philip has your answers when it comes to Sales Navigator here. Also, please connect with each other, because this is the best way to meet people on LinkedIn that are already active. So the challenge for today is to connect with at least 3 people in the chat. It'll make a big difference. Trust me on that one. So Philip, one thing I want to ask you, as far as your lead generation, and you have lots of experiences, so what brought you to pick Sales Navigator out of all the tools out there?
Well, Sales Navigator, a lot of it's about segmentation and search. So, I started, as I said, doing search engine optimization. So it was really a natural progression to then look at search. And LinkedIn is a huge database of professional people. And you're mentioning targeting earlier on. And how do you find targeted people? Well, you obviously have to define who you're looking for, and then it's about finding them. Part of it's about finding them. Part of it's about setting up your whole campaign based on them, and what they you know, what their job titles are. From a search perspective, lots of different search filters, but also their pain points. What is it that you can help them better than anyone else with? What is it that they really need help with? So
Mhm.
it's not just about finding them; it's about really helping them, finding out what they need help with, and providing solutions for that need.
Yeah. One of the things that really drew me to you as my mentor for Sales Navigator, because I've been on LinkedIn for a while and using content strategy, comment strategy to get leads. And as I started to look into Sales Navigator, I saw your newsletter. In fact, Max, if you could please drop the link to the newsletter in the comments for everybody, that would be amazing because the updates there really helped me. And one of the big questions that I get asked is the difference between LinkedIn Premium and Sales Navigator. Could you elaborate on that a little bit for everybody?
Yeah, well, premium doesn't really give you that much. It gives you things like InMail. It gives you the ability to see 90 days, etc. Not the sort of five that you get with free of who's been looking at you, which is obviously useful. But the tools that you get with Sales Navigator is night and day. You've got really targeted search. You've got lists that you can organize people. You've got alerts where you actually get information about how to reach out to people. It's just a completely different thing. It's a completely different thing. So for people that are looking to generate new business, start warm conversations with people, Sales Navigator is the one for you.
And I see Bill Ortiz here saying the success of our company is a direct result of connecting with ICP via Sales Navigator. So, I mean, I've seen a huge difference in premium is more. How did you state it into your newsletter? Is that more for like looking into the analytics, like you're saying, and the views versus prospecting?
Personally, I'm not a big fan of premium. It gives you the ability to sort of learn, the LinkedIn learning. It gives that's useful for people, especially that are career orientated rather than their own businesses, or that are looking to generate new business, as part of their job. It's obviously cheaper, so that will suit a lot of people. But people who are in sales, or salespeople, have job titles of sales or business development, but then you've also got company owners. They're actually in sales. You've got people that are directors. So there's a lot of people that are there to sort of promote the company themselves, the solutions of the company. So it's multifaceted, the things that you want to sort of achieve on LinkedIn. But business premium is good for learning, and it gives you InMails. But personally, I don't like InMails. I don't use them. It's something that it's designed for sending to third connections. But it's everyone sees it as spammy. So it's something that
Definitely.
I've tried to use. I tried it, and I know all the theory about having good headlines and etc. etc. But it doesn't get received well, as you'll probably know.
If I get an email, I don't even look at it. It goes right to my other box. It's just, and you're right that they're usually spammy. It doesn't take much, when you're reaching out to someone to see who you're already connected with and send them a message versus an email. Plus, they're limited too. There's so many reasons not to use email.
Yeah, and it's it's designed for people that are not second connections, so
Mhm.
a connection of a connection. That's what it's really designed for. But basically, it's not received well. And if it's not received well, then why do it? And a lot of, on LinkedIn, using Sales Navigator is about time. You've got to use your time in the most effective way, because we've all got limited time. And sending in mails that some people might open and might respond, you'd be better off doing something else. You'll get a better return.
Yep, absolutely. Guys, let us know what your biggest struggles are on LinkedIn and any questions that you have for Philip now. So we'll keep an eye. I see that David Cos put one up. Philip, you might want to dive into this a little bit more later. I'm not sure, but he's asking about the difference of how your targeting search works within Sales Navigator for B2B specifically. So, how are you targeting the audience by using Sales Navigator when you reach out?
It really depends on his audience, because for some, if he's in a sales position, he might have a list of companies that he's got to target, so, or a sector, or an area. So using the account search and then pulling that into the lead search, because you can set up accounts and put people in account lists and then pull them in and include them or exclude them. So some people might do that. A lot of people just use the lead search and don't really look at the account search. But it all really depends on who your target audience is, and it's thinking slightly outside the box as well, because what you're trying to do is to find that niche of people. You don't want to target 1 million people or 1 million companies. What you're looking for is the people that are actually the hungriest for what you offer. They need that help. They're either looking to grow, or they might be desperate. So sometimes things that could be seen as sort of negative, like a company shrinking, which is one of the filters, that might be an opportunity. It might be an
Yeah.
opportunity because you can fill a gap that's disappearing, within the company.
There's so many ways to reach out to people and to set up your search, David. But the number one thing is to know who your targeted audience is. And then you can actually make more than one list and reach out to people. It gets more involved than that. But knowing who your targeted audience is key. And so we have a question here about someone that they're finding it, Georgia's finding it confusing in mail on LinkedIn and why it's separate in the messages. But you answered some of that just a moment ago. And so, Georgia, in mail is when you're not connected with somebody. So, like a third connection. And it's very limited on how many of those that you can send out. So, it's really not generating a warm conversation with somebody when you send an email. So that's what makes it different. When you're connected with somebody, like a second connection, and you send them a personalized message on Sales Navigator of why you want to connect with them, it's more friendly and they're more apt to want to talk to you and for you to go on from there. Would that be how you would explain it, Philip?
Second connections, you've got mutual connections, so there's some sort of familiarity. If you're a third, you've got no mutual connection. So who is this person? Why are they reaching out to me? If it's a third, because you can still send a connection message to thirds, but when you're targeting, you want to target second connections when you're sort of doing your network build. Building the connections of targeting people within LinkedIn. You want to always target seconds where you can, because of that mutual connection. Because obviously, if there isn't any, then it's like, who is this person? It's almost people will look to see if there's mutual connections.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And so, I see here, Randall, what you're saying about being new to using LinkedIn for prospecting. And that's one reason that we wanted to do this today, is to really help people understand Sales Navigator and the practicality of how it can be used. There's a practical way to get started with Sales Navigator, and there's a lot more out there. So, one way to learn more would be to tune in to look into some of Philip's content and to look at his newsletter. There's a lot of information there, and obviously reach out to him. But the main thing is when you're on LinkedIn and you're building connections, like he's saying, and you have mutual connections, and then you go on to Sales Navigator, you can send a personalized message. And that is the best way to do prospecting versus sending a random email to somebody that you don't have mutual connections for.
Yeah.
But if you have more questions, definitely reach out to him. I just want to see here what this one was that Donald was asking. Innovation and change enthusiasm. What does Sales Navigator give me that basic hard work doesn't? How will it make my job easier? And sorry if this is an overly basic question. It's not overly basic. I have thoughts on that. Philip, what would you like to say
Yeah.
about that?
Well, as the saying goes, there's no stupid questions, because if there's a question, it's not going to be just the person asking it, it's going to be other people. Um, time, 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 targeting, gives you the ability to find and focus in on the right people. Whereas, an example of this is if you go to the LinkedIn.com feed, the homepage, all that stuff is pretty untargeted, and you can waste a lot of time finding something that's relevant. Whereas on Sales Navigator, you save the people and the companies you want to. So you've actually got a bespoke homepage with people that can potentially buy from you, or companies that can potentially buy from you. There's alerts there that you can actually, they help you to actually take action. Because if someone, for example, has moved jobs, then that's probably an opportunity for you to actually, put yourself in front of a new person. Because when someone new moves job, they're probably looking to make a change at the new place. So it's not about selling; it's about congratulating and offering, putting yourself, making yourself visible with that person.
Yeah.
So a lot of Sales Navigator is about giving you focus and helping you to save time, because you can spend, you'll know, and yourself, you can spend your whole life on LinkedIn. But if you do it in a sort of organized way using Sales Navigator, it helps to direct you into places that you can start sales conversations with. But I'd say sales conversations need to be relevant, and you need to really have a good reason to sort of start them. Because if you don't, then you're going to annoy people with sending messages that are not relevant to them.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And so, as far as like, I totally agree with you. The relevance, the personalization is key. So, Sales Navigator is a part of LinkedIn's success, but there's more to it. So, you want to make sure that you have the other parts, like, if someone's going to connect with you because you asked them to through Sales Navigator, you want to make sure your profile is reflecting everything that you need it to reflect. If you don't have that in the first place, who's going to want to connect with you? They don't even understand what you do. Your profile, your LinkedIn business page, that has become more and more important now than it was a couple of years ago by far. And they're working more on that as we move forward. So you need to have those things set up and some content that is showing the solutions you provide to people's pain points. Once you have that, you can go into Sales Navigator and target people and send messages and follow up from there. As far as being logged into Sales Navigator directly when you're messaging, when you're sending your connection request, you do it through Sales Navigator. And then you can follow up from your inbox after they connect. Personally, for me, I don't know about you, Philip. I like to keep things as making sure people know I'm not selling at them, why I reached out to them, what interested me about them. So I pick the audio on my cell phone to talk to people whenever possible after they connect, to let them know why I asked them to connect and what I like about them, because that really makes a warm conversation after somebody connects.
Yeah, it's you're definitely making yourself very visible and standing out because not many there's not many people do audio or videos. Personally, I go for a softer approach with you know saying that I can be a useful resource and um, thank them for connecting and give them links to like my newsletter, for example, which is free. Read it. You obviously signed up and got value from it. So people can take the stuff that's on there and run with it. But obviously, if they get additional help, then they're going to get there quicker, and they might not you know make as many mistakes or whatever because there's nothing that's perfect. You have to try things theoretically and strategically. This is how it can work, but when you actually implement it, you have to see what's working and review basically because you have to tweak. Everything needs tweaks. You're talking about optimizing profiles for your audience. For example, my headline, I've tweaked that so many times. It's
Yeah.
unreal. So it's you get information from the market, and you've got to take that on board and tweak what you're doing so that it's as relevant as possible for them.
Yep. Absolutely. So, and we're going to have a lot of questions here. If we don't get to the comments now, like I said, Philip, Max will go back in afterwards when we can and get back to you. Absolutely. Because we do want to make sure that we cover the things that you're asking about. But all of this does work together. And now, Philip, you mainly work with LinkedIn Teams at this point, correct? So that's a different part, like not Sales Navigator Core.
Yeah, I work with both. I target, that's what I'm saying about your profile, for example, or you can target. I could target individuals. I could target teams. I'm choosing to target teams, um, which is obviously a different a different Sales Navigator product. But not everyone, yeah, a lot of them are still on core. But Teams obviously helps people to actually collaborate, share lists, etc. So it's now called Advanced, and the one above that's Advanced Plus. So you've got Core, Advanced, and Advanced Plus. Advanced has something called Smart Links.
Mhm.
It also has something called buyer intent and category intent, and it's also got team building activities as well, or filters as well. So it's different. It's obviously a bit more expensive, and for me, I would say everyone should start on core, master that, and then move up. Because if you're not using the tool that you've currently got properly, then what's the point in adding in more functionality that you might not be using properly as well? So master core, and not everyone needs team, and you don't actually have to be. Sorry, it's not team anymore. It's called advanced. You don't. You can be a single person and be on advanced. You don't have to be in a team which is designed for. Advanced and advanced plus are designed for teams, but you don't need to be on a team to use it.
Yeah. Now, we had a question earlier about uploading your contacts into your CRM. That is the advanced plus version, right? Where
Yeah.
you can put things back and forth. So for that right there, that is that version there when you need that. So there's a little bit of something for everybody. And I totally agree about starting at core. I'm at core right now. I've been only using Sales Navigator for a few months. And guys, I cannot tell you the difference in business. I have saved so much time. It is not even funny. I saw you writing about it, and a lot of the things you said, Philip, really stuck with me through your newsletter. And it got me to take that jump to look into it a little bit more and more. But I'll tell you, I spend less time now and meet more potential clients and have better meetings than I did before already from
Good.
just going into the core version. I can't believe how much easier it actually made things. That difference in money for me personally, just in this little bit of time,
Yeah.
is not even a thought.
It's an investment. It's not, people look at things as a cost. oh, it's expensive. But if you're landing work that you probably wouldn't have got without it, then you're going to get a return. And if you spend time to learn the functionality, or and it's set up correctly, because you obviously have to set it up correctly, then you will generate sales conversations, as long as you obviously use it in a professional way rather than sort of spamming and overly selling.
Yep. And so this comment here from David Lusk, he's talking back and forth with Jennifer Henderson about, reaching out to decision makers. This is Sales Navigator is a way that you can actually look specifically for the decision makers in companies. You can specify things there. It is, and especially, I don't know how long ago it is that they brought in personas and some of these other filters that made it even better to really specify it more. But finding the decision makers on Sales Navigator versus just when you're on LinkedIn and posting and looking for people is night and day, right?
Yeah, it's the thing is, it's so much more targeted, but also you get more results as well. That's another thing. You get 2,500 access to 2,500 people, whereas on the free, I think it's 1,000. I think it's 1,000. So, but the filters you've got the account filters, and you've got the leads filters. So, and you can pull in lead lists. You can get really narrow. You can get so much more focused than using a free search. And you can't save searches. For example, in the free, which is obviously going to save you time. You could obviously bookmark pages and things like that, but it's still all about time. All this stuff is about time, and it's about, I think a lot of people don't value their own time enough, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why they don't actually, spend, invest in Sales Navigator, because they think they're looking more at a cost rather than what it's actually going to help them to do better and quicker and more effectively.
And what you said earlier about having to tweak things, that really does go from everything, like you mentioned, your headline. You want to, right, set attainable goals across the line on LinkedIn, what you are trying to do in what amount of time, so you can kind of keep track of it and take a look at your content, how it's doing, take a look at the amount of meetings and who you're meeting with. Are you meeting with the right people, and make the necessary changes? I feel like if you don't have that strategy in place in the first place, just like knowing who your targeted audience is, and then set a time to look it over again and tweak it, you're not going to move forward, because there's always changes as we're moving on that need to be made, right?
Yeah, the thing is, you're not going to get things 100% right ever. Even when you've been tweaking, there's always going to be that. There's new things. Job titles is one thing. One company calls a job title something, and another one calls it slightly different. And if you're targeting international, that's different as well. So there's always you need a feedback loop to keep improving what you're doing.
Right. So let's dive a little bit more into what are, say, if you were to name the top 3 struggles you see people having with lead generation or Sales Navigator, what comes to mind with all the people you've met
We've,
with?
the number one, 100% is poor targeting. We've already talked about this a bit, but the number of times I've seen people, they go straight into, I've got Sales Navigator, go straight into the search, and you look at the search and go, wow, that's anyone almost. You've really got to think, spend some time, do the foundational work. When I work with clients, I take them through, it's called the Boost system. So buyer offer optimization. So this is all the foundational elements about, who are they, what could you help them with, what are their main challenges, what solution do you have, that's going to basically help them with that, and take that into optimizing, profiles, optimizing your content. So it's all about making sure that you're targeting the right people with the best, a good solution, which obviously you bespoke based on the client's individual needs, and then making sure that, as you said before, that your landing page, which is your profile, is ready for the people that you're trying to attract. So you don't want people to sort of be thinking, right, what does this person help with? You've got to position, the person as credible. You've got to position the solution as credible, and you've got to position the company as credible. So it's all about credibility, and you want to help that person to be able to do the research, because buyers are getting a lot cannier these days, and they do research. Something like 60% of all research is done before actually reaching out. So they'll look at your profile, they'll look at your company page, they'll look at your website, they'll look at your featured section, they'll look at what they can to find out whether credible person, credible solution, credible company.
And, guys, let us know in the comments what you do and who your targeted audience is, so we have an idea of who's on here. It also helps you work together too. We'll be taking a look at that.
So that's number one.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Long answer, sorry.
We have a top three, right? Don't we have a top three at least?
I think number two is people don't know where to start. And, that's on LinkedIn and also on Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator and LinkedIn are not great at helping helping people to know what to do. The amount of times people, I do content, and then I get comments with people saying, "Yeah, I just don't know what I don't know what to do," and it's like, the amount of people that buy, or get a trial on Sales Navigator, and then 30 days are up, buy, and they've logged in about once. What people should be looking to do is do the fundamental works first. The foundational work. Your buyer, your offer. Optimizing your profile. Really think about who it is you're wanting to attract, and then only will then get the trial, and have a think about the strategy as well that you're going to use. What searches do you need to set up? How are you going to use it? Because a lot of people, if you've got a big network already, one of the first things that you should do is find all the targeted people within your network, your first connections. We talk a lot about second connections and building new people, but a lot of people have got targeted people already. You've already got some sort of relationship with them, and they've already connected with you, so you can message them. But you obviously, going back, it needs to be something that's relevant and something, you have to have a good reason, which is obviously going back again to Sales Navigator and warm conversations.
Okay.
So, not knowing where to start is key, but you have to set up Sales Navigator in the right way, because if you don't, one of the things that Sales Navigator does is, it's got an algorithm, and how you set it up, it will then feed you stuff based on how you've set it up. And if you've set it up incorrectly, then you're going to be pushed the wrong things, which are obviously, going back to time, is going to waste your time. It's not going to be focused enough. It's not going to be relevant enough, and you're not going to get the results you want. So it's, as you said before, it's one big, thing that's joined up that, you've got to tick a lot of boxes.
Okay. So our top three struggles with Sales Navigator that we see summarized are:
poor targeting, don't know where to start, and no strategies and systems for using Sales Navigator. So you need to think about what you're trying to achieve and how you're going to do that, and what you need to do within Sales Navigator. So those are my top three. What about you, Anne? What would you add? What would be your top three?
I'm right on board with you. Knowing your targeted audience well, first of all, I'm going to start with being set up. Like I was saying in the beginning, if everything else is not set up, don't move on to Sales Navigator, because you have to have your profile and things set up so people understand what you do, and you have some kind of network that you're beginning with. You do need to have some type of network so that you do have mutual connections, and people can take a look at what you're doing, and connecting with them makes sense. It's not spammy. It's not salesy. And then second is, setting it up correctly. Do you help, by the way, with people that need to set up Sales Navigator?
Yes.
What is you do? So if someone needed to have it set up and they ran by what they were looking to do, that's something they could reach out to you for?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's something, I'm very systemized, so I've got a process that I go through. I've got processes for pretty much everything. Just because if you follow processes, you get it set up correctly. So it's winging it doesn't end up well quite often when in most things.
Yep. I mean, I am a winger. I'll admit it. Like, even though I'm a strategist, there's certain things that I have strategy for. Like on LinkedIn, I was saying setting it up and how I do it. But there's also a part of winging it that I do that's a combo. Everybody's a little bit different. But even with being a winger, Sales Navigator needs to be set up or it's going to work, or else you're just going to get nothing out of it, and it would be a waste. You know what? In fact, that brings me to, I think I read something that you had said about people that say Sales Navigator doesn't work. Was it either that they aren't using it correctly or they aren't on the right platform? Something like
Um,
that.
Sales Navigator wouldn't work if your audience isn't on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
If your audience isn't on LinkedIn, then the only thing you can really do, because if you can't find people, you're going to struggle.
Mm-hmm.
But for them, you can actually target, referral partners who actually have that audience, a mutual audience, and you can grow, you can reach them through other people. That would be the other option, but it's not for every audience, because obviously if the one that I use quite a lot, we have something called letting agents, and there's landlords, who no one puts on their profile, I'm a landlord. But what you can do, so what you can actually do though is get people to stick up their hand and say they're interested in a topic that's to do with being a landlord. So you can identify them that way, but it's obviously a slower way than if you can find them in a search.
Yes, absolutely. Um, I like that people are starting to put here what they're doing too, so we can have a better idea of where they're coming from. And as I'm looking at it, I'm going to mention a couple of things that when you asked me earlier what I thought. So, not only for me, the most important things are having your profile and everything set up, your content set up so that people can see it. You have somewhat of a network. Your sales navigator is set up to work. But also, it's after you connect with somebody, after you send your personalized message, is like going, it tells you on Sales Navigator, even on Core, if somebody posted. So you can go to their post and leave a comment, or you can go to a message and say, I really enjoyed what you just wrote about. And so I love the fact that that is there, because you're showing them that they're just not another person. They mean something to you. You're reading what they're doing. You understand who they are. So for me, that's huge, that after part of that follow up. What do you suggest as far as like your follow up and messaging and so forth?
Um, I sort of alluded to this earlier about I go for a slightly softer approach
Uh huh.
with being a resource and providing resources. And I get into conversations with that because people, the people that I'm targeted are interested in those resources. So it works. Again, all of this is about getting into conversations, that
Yes.
with people that can potentially buy from you. Um, that's a bit sort of blunt, but it's people that you can help, because ultimately, you know, selling and you're actually a consultant. You're helping them with a problem, and I think a lot of people haven't sort of quite caught on to the fact that you've got it. It's all about helping. It's all about you know helping them to achieve something that they need to desperately or really want to, rather than I'm going to sell this widget.
Yeah.
So
And people aren't just looking to buy a product, they're looking to do business with people that they want to work with and want to trust, and that needs to be built in there. It's a
Yeah.
process. And organic lead generation is a process. I mean, I'm assuming that's why you like it so much better than buying leads. How do you feel about organic lead generation versus buying lead lists?
I think it's a bigger thing in America than over here, buying lead lists. But the thing is, you've got to be, how targeted you are for what you're offering as well. How much rubbish is in there basically. For me, you know, actually, it's about getting people to stick up their hand that they're interested. It's about using insights to have conversations with people that are interested. It's a lot softer. It's a lot more helpful than buying a sort of cold list that half of them might not
Yeah.
be interested at all. Not no interest at all, not targeted, and you're going to waste a lot of time on that. Whereas if you actually take control of it, you can make it work a lot better for the time that you have as well. And time is critical because we've all got the same amount of time, and we don't want to waste it.
Absolutely. So I'm looking at the comments at the same time as I'm listening to you. And one thing I'm wondering is Sales Navigator, lead gen, pet peeves, things that come to mind to you that people do wrong that really bug you. I know some of mine.
So is this the three things not to do?
It's in your three things not to do. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, basically spending time with people, all of mine are about time because Sales Navigating save you a lot of time. And if you don't use it correctly, then you can waste time. And if you don't use it at all, you will waste lots of time. So spending time on people who won't buy from you. So you haven't done, it's back to the targeting again. You haven't done your targeting. You've not spent that time to actually, really delve into who's actually the best people to sort of, become visible with, because it's all about visibility. You can get visibility with content, inbound marketing, and you can get visibility with outbound. So it's all about not wasting time on people that are never going to buy from you, like that lead, buying leads,
Yeah.
that lead list we're talking about.
Yep. Okay. Pet peeve for me is getting a message from somebody, email or connect, whatever, any kind of message that specifically says their calendar link on it. I read your profile and it looks like someone that I'd be really interested in adding to my network. Let's set up a time to talk and there's a calendar link there. That's totally my pet peeve right there. This is my biggest one.
Yeah, well, now that you say that's not a great one, but also the messages that are about this length, that how's that personalized? How's that personalized?
Yeah, that's how I'm glad that we have the other box now, so we can like move it over to like either delete or other, that you don't concentrate on it. Um, so tell us a little bit. Okay, can somebody hire a company just to do Sales Navigator with them? Like, I don't know, stay in touch, but have somebody else do the whole entire thing.
Um, Whenever you're working with clients, it's completely teamwork because they obviously know their audience better than you do. My job is to understand, as well as I can, but they're in it day to day. But yeah, it's about working together. The best people to respond to things are, the people that are in the company. But we can facilitate, helping set things up. We can facilitate, setting the best searches up. We can facilitate, different strategies. Because there's, clients don't, it's going back to people not knowing what they're doing, and having actionable things that they can then implement is really important, and giving them the structure which gives them a focus, and that's something that I hear quite a lot. You've given me a focus rather than what am I doing? What am I
Hmm.
doing? And that's, you can waste so much time on LinkedIn, and unless you've got some sort of structure, um, you're not going to get the results that you're probably looking for. You might get some results, but you're not going to get the results you should be getting.
Yep. I agree. And I've seen a lot of people working with like big companies that do Sales Navigator for them and spoken to them about the results they get. And when a search is just set up, but there's no communication and two copy paste messages sent, that's not what you're looking for if you want to make the most out of Sales Navigator. So I also want to put that out there because you want to make sure you're working with someone that, like he's saying, is teamwork and they understand back and forth what's going on, or it's not going to work. That money is, that's just my 2 cents and what I've seen from talking to people that do that. It is
Yeah,
teamwork.
absolutely, absolutely. Because you've got, it's going back to what I said earlier about win-win. Help clients really win is, you've got to be that consultant. You've got to be the person that's helping to point them in the right direction. And you know, if you're not that, then you're not really helping them. And there's a lot of you know, there's people out there that, it's more sort of complete mass targeting or mass messaging, which you've got to do. You've got to get the right balance, because you
Yeah.
do want to have a big network of the right people, but there's personalization as well. So it's trying to balance those two aspects.
Yeah, I mean, you do need to have a good sized network, but it's definitely quality over quantity. Too much quantity with no quality, what is that going to do? And so, yeah, it does. It takes the team thing.
Yeah, and if you save the sort of non-quality ones as save leads or saves accounts, it's just going to block up, your Sales Navigator feed, and you're going to be looking at stuff that's just gonna is not going to get your desired result, and you're going to waste time. So you've got to reduce, the noise, and you've got to have people that can potentially buy. That's what we
Absolutely.
really want.
Absolutely. So, what makes your company linked into sales?
Hmm.
What makes your company different than other sales navigator lead gen companies on LinkedIn?
I would say there's probably two things. The way I use Sales Navigator is different from my competitors. Not 100% different, but there's elements that I definitely do differently. Um, the other thing is, it's the help to the end client. The resources that I give them, and the help to make sure that they know what to implement, and they've got something concrete to follow. Implementation is probably the most important thing, because you can have all the knowledge, but unless it gets implemented, it's a waste of time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You have to implement, you have to take action. If you
Yeah,
don't take action and work on it, then it's just not going to work. So those are some ideas of what differentiates you from
yeah,
everybody else.
yeah. Basically, I'd also say, I've got a number of strategies that a lot of people haven't really thought about. Um, a lot of, I think, a lot of competitors, and you'll find this as well. They've got, it's quite a limited service, and they'll do X and Y, but they'll do a lot of it rather than having a solution that, like I've got 9 overall things that we do, and not every client's going to want all of them. Whereas having there's some people provide things that are, you get this and this. That's it.
Yep, absolutely. I want to thank Keston. He's tuning out right now. He's tuning in from Trinidad and Tobago, so he's saying good evening to everybody. It's one of the neatest things about getting to do this is talking to people from all around the world and us coming together as a community. That's really neat. Thank you for tuning in. So I know you don't want to give a lot. of your secret strategies away. And there is a lot to Sales Navigator, guys. It's just that you start at the beginning. There is a starting place, and it's not overwhelming then. There's more out there. There's a lot to learn. But one of the things that will really help you is Philip's new free Sales Navigator guide, the A to Z guide. Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about your guide? Because that can be downloaded, right?
Yeah, it's downloaded via SmartLink, which is which is an advanced feature. So my guide, what I found, the problem that I found is that there's not a lot of information. Well, there is a lot of information, but it's not organized. It's not all in one place, and there's bits everywhere. So, I wanted to create something that it's more of a reference document, and I use it as well. Where you've got, I think there's 145 definitions, and there's, more importantly, there's 18 spotlight pages, which talks through the functionality. So part of learning to use Sales Navigator is actually understanding what you've got. And, LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, there's lots of hidden little nooks and crannies of functionality. And what I'm trying to do is to make it all more visible so that people can actually look through this guide and look at, start on the spotlight pages and then sort of work back into, the definitions. And when you see something, you can look it up. So it's a reference guide. It's to help people to actually have somewhere that they can go that's got, pretty much everything that is within Sales Navigator. It's not, what it isn't though is, different strategies for doing X, Y, and Z, but it'll help to teach you what you've got and what it can be used for. So if I can ask you, Anne, because obviously I've done a July edition and plan to do an October edition and update it, quarterly. What's your feedback? Because it's obviously a guide that is pretty new. We're obviously now in August, but it was, it's less than a month old. What feedback would you give me?
The guide itself is exactly what you're saying as far as a reference guide. So for somebody for me who hasn't been on Sales Navigator long, although I've been on LinkedIn long, it was confusing. A lot of the terms, a lot of things that were going on, I didn't understand. And you're right that it's not easy to necessarily find the answers. So your reference guide helped me a lot. And I think anybody would benefit from that. As far as anything I would do with that, besides updates at periodic times, like deciding how often you need to update it, would just be getting it more visible by putting it into posts in different formats about your guide itself so people can see it. Because I just see enough, I really believe just a lot of people don't know about it.
Yeah, it's it's probably true. It has been viewed. It has been viewed. A reasonable amount, but it's something that you have to go on my profile really to find it. Apart from when I launched it, I sort of did posts for a couple of weeks or a week or so for it. But it's something that you're right. I need to get it wider because it is so useful. So yeah, thanks. But what I also want to do with the guide though is actually provide more resources for the October edition, so that there's more, some free stuff, but also obviously some paid stuff as well, because obviously we all need to eat. So that's what I plan to do with it. But it's something that it's useful. I use it and I created it. So
to make it more, say if you were adding on a paid part of it, not just a free resource guide, some things might be some of the strategies that people can try out, but without giving everything that you do away as a paid thing. There's parts that you can do like that to give them a start. And then if they want to learn more, they reach out to you on an individual basis. Yeah, it's just deciding if you just want it to be a reference or more.
No, I do want it to be a reference, but there's certainly, there was two, the category intent. There was a resource for that, and there was another resource as well of stuff that's actually going to save you time. And because when for me, what I'm looking to do is to save time, because
Right.
time is so precious. And by creating it's just an Excel spreadsheet, it would save someone time to actually find the products that they might want, that are relevant for them, for category intent. But that's only for advanced users. So it's obviously core users, you don't have that element. But
At, at this time, and I am a core user, I've learned so much. I just think more people need to know about it because it's not getting utilized by as many people that actually need it.
that's why,
That would be my 2 cents on that one.
yeah,
So we
well,
should need to put the link down if we didn't, Max, for the guide. Everybody, you want to check out the guide if you can. It is really, the reference guide is incredible, A to Z. It's kind of like Richard Vanderblom did his LinkedIn algorithm report. I don't know how many times a year he does, if it's twice or four, but if it's quarterly or biannually, but you see it all over and everybody knows about it. I would just like to see yours all over more so people know about it.
yeah, he's got a few more followers than I do. You know, I think he's got over 100,000. I've got about 15,000. So yeah, need to work harder. Must do
That's all.
better.
Just getting it out there. I'll help you get it out there. But yeah, definitely check out the A to Z guide. So, what is the best way for people to contact you, and also who really should be contacting you? Who's your niche market?
It's basically, heads of business development are the people that I target, because they are obviously hungry for generating business, and obviously sales leaders, um, you know. But I also said, individual people or businesses who, that don't have to have lots of salespeople, but they're looking to, you know generate business. They're B2B. They can find their audience, relatively easily on LinkedIn, but they don't really know what to do. So it's not just sales teams. It's, can help individual people or individuals within businesses.
Yep. And we had more questions on there that we'll see in the comments. Somewhere like David Cos was asking, he knows there's people outside of his network that need graphic design. He's an amazing graphic designer. And so he was wondering the best way to reach out to them because they're third connections. And I think, Max, is that where he may have mentioned the LinkedIn business page? That is a way of highlighting what you do and getting more people to also see it and then getting connected from there, even outside of Sales Navigator. Because the third connection thing is tricky. What do you have to say to him?
I would say he needs to probably look at his search, and who he's actually targeting. Is he targeting, um, is he trying to go worldwide? Because if he's targeting worldwide and all his, I don't know where he's based, but if he's in America, then he's going to get a lot of thirds. You really do want to be targeting seconds, so you need to probably look at your search. Is he a Sales Navigator user?
Not yet.
Not yet. So he's probably using the free version,
Mm-hmm.
which is obviously, it's not got as many filters, and it's he's maybe too niche, and maybe, what size is his network? Because if his network is, very small, or small, or then he's going to have less. He's going to get more thirds than seconds. So, maybe what he needs to do is to focus first on building his network, so that then his reach to second connections is greater.
Yep. I
And
totally
that's,
agree.
I was working with a sales team, and there was two of them that I was working with, and one had something like 7,000 connections, and the other had about 700. So they're completely different. Network building was the priority for the one with 700, because they needed a bigger audience, and the one with 7,000, let's start speaking. Who are your first connections that are targeted? How are we going to create that first touch point? What's the most relevant touch points? So two different, same company, two different users, different strategy, because where they are now, Yeah, and that's something you've really got to look at. Where are you now? What should I be doing? What's my priority?
Yep, absolutely. Is the best way to contact you with a message through LinkedIn?
Yes, yeah. Send me, if you're not connected with me, send me a connection message, and if you are, send me a message. So yeah, definitely.
Okay, fantastic. I want to thank you for everything you said today and just kind of do a little bit of a recap here before we get off for everyone. So, your strategy, your LinkedIn strategy is very important. Sales Navigator is a part of that. I did a series once on the three C's, which other people have different ideas, I'm sure, on three C's. I'm not the only one I know. Mary Fame Brand had three C's that were different, but mine were, so you need to have content strategy, you need to have a
Mhm.
comment strategy, and then you need to have your client to conversion strategy. Because when you put those things together, it works, and you need to be set up for success in each way. If you're looking for help with your media management and building your network on LinkedIn, by all means connect with me, reach out to me, reach out to Max. If you're looking to learn more about lead generation, Philip's your guy. Reach out to Philip, learn more, because it all really does work together. It really does.
Yeah.
um, do you have any last thoughts for everybody?
From a sales navigator point of view, obviously great for business development and growth reasons. It's going to save you tons of time and makes your efforts, much more effective if you use it properly. But before you start, do your foundation work, set it up properly. Learn it and set it up properly. And you know, this is all about campaign execution. So, as I said, with the 700 or the 7,000, where are you? What's your priority? Is it about growing a network, or is it about, creating that touch point with the people that you're already connected to that can potentially buy from you? And, what are those touch points? What reasons can you have to reach out? Because it needs to be relevant. Otherwise, people aren't going to get, they're not going to respond, and you're not going to get into conversations.
Yeah. One of the biggest things I have found is there becomes a point where you may have a great community built on LinkedIn of people, but a lot of them, you have similar values, you have things in common, but they're not necessarily the people that need your service. And Sales Navigator, once you have that community and you have a network, that next step is to go there, to get out of that little pocket of people into a different area where people actually need your services. It makes the world a difference. It gets you out of that little pocket there where you get stuck.
Yeah, I think, from a content perspective, having supporters is good, because it obviously helps your reach. But you're absolutely right. A lot of people find comfort in, the people they already know, but are, never going to buy from them. So, it's back to that, getting the right balance. Because you need to obviously, get the right balance. Otherwise, if you stick with the people that you already know, and they're not going to buy from you, you're not going to get any business. Whereas if you go, completely, if you ignore them completely, you need them to help, your reach of your content. So balance.
Absolutely. That's like my tagline. I help people turn their content and comments into clients. It all comes together there. There needs to be people supporting you and engaging. Those are like called the influencers because they're engaging and they're bringing people to watch it. But the lurkers, the people that are looking at it, are often the people that are going to become clients.
Yeah.
You need to get in front of those people. So, Sales Navigator is a great way to do that. And let's bring Max on. I want to thank you for doing such a great job today, Max McKinley, my partner at Only by Grace, for helping us in the comments. Thank you so much, Philip, for helping us today. I want to encourage everyone to reach out, especially since today was the first launch. He kicked off our launch for LinkedIn Success. Whenever you try anything new, it's new, guys. You got to go for it. Remember, go for done, not just perfect. If you go for perfect, it will never get done. I heard that before from Cassandra
Yes.
Robinson. It's true.
Done, done is better than perfect.
It is. So thank you so much for everyone here today. We'll get back to your comments. I saw some of the ones like being in groups helps you know other people. There's a lot of great things there. Connect with each other. And thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to connect with each other and us. And we just want to thank you for your time because, like Philip said, we realize how valuable your time is. Thank you.
Thank you.